joined here today by Nick from That Arena Rock Show. So you guys are coming back by, quote, popular demand. What does it mean to hear that the fans really wanted you back at the Egyptian?
It's an honor. You know, that's what we tell people all the time is when they ask for us to come back to their city, we're like, let your local venue know that you want to see us again, because we can't come uninvited, you know? So it's always a huge honor to have venues reach back out and say, hey, we want to do this again next year or whatever. And, the Egyptian Theater is a great venue and great staff. We really enjoyed working with them last year, and we're excited to do it again.
Awesome. So for someone who's never seen That Arena Rock Show before, what are you walking into on March 28th?
Yeah, so it's a love letter to 80s rock, you know, the era of the 80s. It's hits, it's big hits. It's going to be, theatrics. It's going to be, you'll see pop culture stuff in it. You'll see 5 guys running around like maniacs. And, it's just a good time. And it's, a 2-hour trip that you can forget about, the chaos of this world and the stresses of your own life for, a couple hours, and just, forget about all that stuff and just have fun for 2 hours. And we that's what I personally love about this thing, is just to be able to look out and see other people having a good time for 2 hours and smiling. And, it's a huge honor to be able to have a job like that.
I'll be honest, the era in which you guys are covering is 100% what I grew up on, 100% the music I listened to.
Yeah.
I know I'm on a radio station, so, saying I'm not the hugest fan of modern music is probably not great, but yeah. I will take AC/DC, Led Zeppelin any day over the modern stuff.
Well, yeah, I mean, the modern stuff is good too, but these songs are just classic, and they're just feel good songs. And, it's just stuff that makes people happy. You know what I mean? So it's just it's great music. And, people are still love it all these years later. It's, some of that stuff's 40 and 50 years old. And, I see kids in the crowd at a lot of our shows, and they're singing along to it. So it's just, it's really transcended time. It's amazing.
You can't work out to some of like the modern music. I mean, there's nothing like being in the middle of one of the hardest workouts and suddenly Thunderstruck comes on. And you're like, you know what? I can do this.
Absolutely. Yeah. That's what we kind of like with our songs that we pick for our show. We try to pick those songs that like you kind of said, like you're working out, and those songs that pump you up, like you're in a stadium at a football game and that specific song is playing, you know what I mean? Like, definitely. So we try to find those kind of songs to throw into the show, and there's tons of them to pick from. So we have a good time with it.
Definitely. So this isn't just a concert. Really, it's an experience. So what makes your show different from a typical tribute act?
Yeah. So, we pay kind of tribute to the whole era. So what we wanted to do was not only be 5 guys up there playing the music or dressing up as a specific group and doing a tribute that way. What we wanted to do is kind of like make it a production. So it was heavily inspired by like an Alice Cooper concert. If you've ever seen him in concert, like he's got a lot of theatrics going on, and we wanted to kind of put on a show along with a soundtrack of like all the greatest songs from that era. So another thing that we kind of did is we looked at like all of our favorite moments from different bands' shows. So like Kiss, Ace Frehley had a smoking guitar, and Paul Stanley broke a guitar at the end of the night, and Alice Cooper did the guillotine and cuts, his head off in the middle of a show, or stuff like that. We wanted to incorporate all that into our show. And we also kind of found moments in pop culture. So like Beavis and Butthead will show up in our show, and Wayne's World and Mrs. Doubtfire, so just different things to bring you back to those memories in a 2-hour show. We try to bring back as many memories as we can in that time frame.
So even though you're taking inspiration from Alice Cooper, do you guys at least get to survive to the end of your show?
Well, our singer gets his head cut off, but he survives. I don't know how. He comes back the next song.
So kind of getting back into this era, the 70s and 80s, what do you feel like makes that era of rock just hit so hard even today still?
Yeah, I think it's, that music is just timeless. And the reason being is it's just catchy. It's feel-good music, and, that's the thing, is just people love to sing along to it. And they had simple beats, you know, to where it's easy to dance to. You know, AC/DC gets a lot of flack for being, you know, 3 chords and just a basic drum beat. But man, those are the best songs. You know what I mean? You can't argue with Highway to Hell and Thunderstruck and You Shook Me All Night Long and stuff like that. It's just those songs are just classic. That's the other thing, is that I think I've heard Paul Stanley say this about some Kiss songs. Those songs had, you know, now 40, 50 years to grow on people, or for people to learn to, that's constantly in their heads. Where if you're a new band or you're an older band putting out new music, they only have 5 years of that song. So like these songs that have had 40 to 50 years to grow in people's minds or ears, you know, that's a big thing. And that's what makes them classic is time.
I totally agree. So kind of going back into the singing every word, everything like that. Do you see fans just kind of go at the beginning where it's like, okay, this is cool. And then by the end you see fists in the air, people going crazy, stuff like that?
Yeah. You know, sometimes before the show starts, you know, especially when we're playing theaters, you'll look out and you'll see people kind of sitting there and it's like, you know, whatever. And we'll go into the first song and you kind of see them kind of like go, whoa, you know, like I wasn't, you know, I don't know if I was expecting this. And then, you know, by song 3 or 4, I think we do Living on a Prayer at one of them. And that's the song where we started off with the crowd singing. And it's like, by that time, they're all standing up, screaming that chorus. And it's like, it's cool to see that transformation of people like sitting in the crowd, eating popcorn or checking their phones. The next thing you know, they're like, whoa, you know, so it's cool to see that.
I mean, if Living on a Prayer doesn't get you going, do you even have a pulse?
I agree 100%. I agree 100%.
So you're covering icons like Led Zeppelin, Aerosmith, AC/DC, Bon Jovi, Guns N' Roses. How do you capture the spirit of so many different legendary sounds in just one show?
That's a good question. My singer, man, I mass props to him, because that stuff is not easy to sing. You know, it's easy to get guitar effects, you know, on your guitar to sound a certain way, or get your distortion to sound a certain way. But, you know, to be able to handle 2 hours of those songs and be able to pull them off, like my hat's off to him. That's a huge challenge. So he does a really good job with it. And another really cool thing that he does is he like takes, every time we go into a song, like he'll pick up like the mannerisms from, you know, AC/DC or Led Zeppelin or any of those bands, and he kind of throws that into his performance of that song. So it's really neat. He's a talented kid, that's for sure.
Could you sing any of the songs?
Could I sing? No, you don't want to hear me sing.
Is there one song in the set that you feel like gets the biggest reaction?
You know, Living on a Prayer gets a good one because of the way the crowd sings the whole thing. And, you know, I honestly, they all get a really good reaction, because that's kind of what we did when we picked the songs. We were trying to, you know, if you're at a party and, you know, someone has a playlist on, you want to know every single song, you know, and so does everyone else in that room. If you start playing songs that people don't know, they're going to be kind of, you know, turned off for a minute or something. So we try to pick all of the huge songs from that era. And if you're an 80s fan, you're going to love all those songs. You know, a 70s, 80s rock fan, you're going to love all those songs.
How much work does it really take to recreate something authentic like this?
You know, as far as, you know, that's someone asked me this recently. That's something that I think a lot of people don't see is the behind the scenes. Like the 2 hours on stage are easy, you know what I mean? And those are the most fun 2 hours, but there's a lot of travel that goes into this. There's a lot of preparation, even with just like getting our bus and our truck ready to go for each weekend. You know, there's a lot of thought that went into our show, you know, in the beginning. And now we've kind of got it to where we can swap out songs to where it, you know, it flows really, really good. But there's programming of lights, there's programming of video. There's a lot of preparation that goes into making sure we can do what we want successfully. But, you know, it's that whole saying where, you know, if you love what you do, it doesn't feel like you're working. That's true. It's a lot of work, but I love every bit of, you know, what I do for this, and wouldn't trade it for anything.
That's awesome. So what initially got you into this? I mean, did you just wake up one day and say, hey, this is what I'm going to be doing?
Yeah. So when I was younger, my mom and dad were really into 80s rock. My dad's a big Kiss fan. And I would watch, bootleg videos all the time because he would have them on. And I was just like so fascinated with like the production of everything. And when I, turned 14 or so, I started to learn how to play guitar and, was in bands and stuff like that and ended up in a tribute band for Stone Temple Pilots. From there, I learned how the tribute business worked. And I thought to myself, man, I could really put something cool together if I did, the style of music that I really, really love, which would be 70s and 80s rock. And I could do something really different, theatrics, and, we could do costumes and make it a real show for, a bang for your buck for coming to see it, And so that's what we did. We just started to pile in like everything that we loved about, 80s rock stuff, 70s bands, and just throw it all into one big show to make the best 2-hour fun entertaining event that we could. And here we are 9 years later. So yeah,
that's very cool.
Yeah. Is
there a moment in the show where you look out at the crowd and think, yeah, this is why I'm doing this?
Oh, yeah, every show. And it ends up, you're so busy during those 2 hours, you're constantly doing something or entertaining or focusing on playing, that, it's literally like the last song where you look out after the whole show's over and you're like, man, this was the coolest job in the world. You know what I mean? It's a huge blessing to me to be able to do it. I'm thankful that people come to see it.
So the Egyptian it's a very iconic venue, but it's a very intimate venue as well. Yeah. So how do you turn a place like that into a full-on arena rock experience?
That was our goal from day one. Day one, we didn't have the money to buy a production, so we solely went off energy. Like we have to entertain these people with ourselves, and so we built that for a little bit, and then we started as we grew. We ended up being able to afford a decent production, and so we always wanted to take even the smallest room. If we're playing the smallest little corner stage, or if we're playing an arena, we want it to feel like an arena show for the night, where we're going to have crowd sing-alongs, we're going to have those theatrical moments, we're going to have geysers shooting off, we're going to have all that kind of stuff. And when we're in bigger rooms like the Egyptian Theater, I think we did it last time, we have a drop curtain, which gives off this big feel. A show like ours, in a theater, it looks great, and in arenas it looks great. So we just try to pull off as much, try to throw as much chaos into one show as possible to make people feel like they're back in that time. And that's the biggest compliment that we've heard from people, is like, you'll hear people at the end of the night, they'll come up to us and they'll say, and you took me back to being 16 again. And it's like, that's a hell of a drug, if I could bottle that up and sell it, I'd be rich, So it's incredible that we're able to provide an experience that takes people back like that.
Absolutely. So what kind of crowd are you expecting in DeKalb?
Hopefully one that's ready, we played last time, and, I always ask at the end of the night, like, is it cool? Would you want to see us again? Can we come back next year? And, that one specifically, I remember there was a huge reaction. And so, yeah, we're hoping it's going to be an even bigger crowd this time than last time. And, hopefully we'll just keep building it to where, we play this place and it sells out every time.
So I feel like this is one of those shows where you don't just sit and watch, you're kind of part of it. Is that pretty correct?
100%. Yeah. I always tell people, like, it's a giant party. We'll bring the music, we'll bring the, the entertainment, but, this is your party. This is for you to have a good time. It's not for us to have a good time. We're going to have a good time, but this is for the crowd. And it's going to be as fun as you want it to be.
If someone's on the fence about coming out on March 28th, what would you tell them?
That's a good question. Give it a shot. You know what I mean? Like, it's what's the worst that could happen? I tell my wife this about like comedy shows. Like, what's the worst that could happen? Like, we don't know the comedian, but let's just go out and what's the worst that could happen? We're going to laugh. That's a good time. So I think the same thing with this. Like, what's the worst that's going to happen? You're going to hear songs you love. Whether you don't like, the way a song was sung, or, you don't like a certain performance, you're going to still have a good time, because it's just great songs, and, people around you are going to have a good time, which entices you to have a good time. So there's nothing bad about it. It's all good, So I would challenge you to just buy, show up, buy the cheapest ticket you can and show up and you know, see if you like it.
What's one thing you think fans will be walking away saying after your show?
Like kind of like what I've said before. It was like people say that you know, you took me back to my youth, and one of the coolest comments I ever heard was even though it were a tribute to like the whole era, someone and this was early on, they said, you gave me the 1987 Guns N' Roses Appetite for Destruction concert that I never got to see. And it was like, whoa, that's pretty freaking cool to hear. You know, that was just based off of like the energy we were given, you know, like the us running around and playing, you know, the songs. And so yeah, I just hope that, you know, people at the end of the night are happy and, you know, go to bed with a smile on their face.
All right. So I'm going to put you majorly on the spot here. You have to pick one band of the 70s and 80s. Which one is it? Which one's your favorite?
I'm a huge Kiss fan, as you can see in the background there. My dad raised me on them, and I was just fascinated with them. Just like I said, they're the way that they put on a show, and it just blows my mind. Especially like that last one that they did on it was the End of the Road tour. I was just blown away by every bit of their production. You know, I love their songs. My dad raised me on them, and they just feel like home, you know. So, but my second favorite band is AC/DC. So, you know, I'm a big Bon Scott fan. Actually, I got a cool thing I'll show you real quick. We had bought a bus a long time ago, and this guy that sold us the bus was the bus driver on the Highway to Hell tour. Cool. And gave me these pictures that he took on the tour. So that's Bon Scott, Angus,
that's so cool.
Playing on the, you know, on his back. And then this one, it just looks like it's a shot of Angus. But I was just like amazed when he handed me these photos. I'm like, you gotta be kidding me. That's so cool.
That's awesome.
Yeah. So, yeah.
All right. Same tough question, except for just pick one song. You can listen to one song for the rest of your life from the 70s and 80s. Which one is it?
That is a tough question. You know, I tell people all the time with like our show, like they'll ask me like, what's your favorite song on the show? And I literally love all of them because you know, I had a hand in picking what songs are going in the show, you know, so I literally love them all. There's not a bad one in our show.
What if I expanded to top three? Can we do top three?
Top three. Okay, I'm just gonna pick three. This will probably change tomorrow, or you know, Kiss. One of my favorite songs by them is "Hide Your Heart." It's a song from the '80s. It's not in our show, but I love that song. AC/DC, I'm going to say A Whole Lot of Rosie. And then, you know, my third favorite band is probably Poison. So I'm going to pick a Poison song. I'll say Unskinny Bop. I think that's a fun song. It's just got a cool groove to it.
Awesome.
Yeah.
If you had to describe that arena rock show in just 3 words, what are you going with?
I'm going to say energy, theatrics, and fun. You're going to get all of that at our show.
On a scale of 1 to blown speakers, how loud is this show going to be?
Yeah, you know, that all depends on the venue. So that's a thing a lot of people don't know is well, sometimes we have our own sound guy that travels with us, but the sound level and the sound mix usually is the venue doing that. So we don't really have a ton of say on that. We send them what we have on stage, and then they do what they want with it. So I don't know how loud it's going to be, but to me, it always sounds better louder.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
I think it's also dependent on your fans as well as how much alcohol is consumed.
You know, I tell everyone we sound way better the more you drink. So.
All right, Nick. So can you just remind us of the details where we can see you?
Yeah, March 28th. We're in DeKalb, Illinois at the Egyptian Theater. There's not a bad seat in that venue. I remember walking around there last time, and it's just incredible. And that's the other thing is the staff there was just super, super cool. Have you seen shows there before?
I have. I just went there last Thursday to see Gaelic Storm.
Oh, killer. Yeah. Great venue, great people. It's just like, you know, it's one of my favorites that we get to play. We played it for the first time last year, and I was just blown away by how great it was. So, yeah, we'll be there March 28th, and you can get your tickets at EgyptianTheater.com, I think. If not, there's a link on thatarenarockshow.com.
Perfect. Thank you so much for taking the time to talk with us today, Nick.
No, thank you. Thank you for taking the time.